Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the August 26th meeting of the TPOe Executive Board. The first order of business is to call roll and determine a quorum, please.
Good morning. If you're serving as a proxy, please respond with your name when I call the official's name. Mayor Tanya Martin, Mayor Tony Akins,
Amber Scott Kelso for Mayor Tony Akins.
Mayor Roland Bradshaw, Mayor Scott Burton,
Larry Gann for Mayor Scott Burton.
Mr. Troy Ebert,
Troy Ebert, proxy for Governor Bill Lee.
Mayor Terry Frank,
Catherine Baldwin, representing Anderson County for Mayor Frank.
Mayor Warren Gooch,
Randy Heeman, representing Mayor Warren Gooch.
Mayor Jeff Harris, Mayor Glenn Jacobs,
Here.
Mayor India Kincannon, Vice Mayor Lynn Fugit,
Debbie Helsley for Vice Mayor Fugit.
Mayor Ed Mitchell,
Don Walker for Mayor Mitchell.
Commissioner Gina Oster, Mr. Billy Pickle, Trustee Justin Biggs, Mr. Isaac Thorne,
Here.
Mayor Larry Waters,
James Temple for Mayor Waters.
Mayor Andy White,
Brian Boone for Mayor Andy White.
Mayor Ron Williams.
Here.
That's 13 present, sir.
Thank you. Are there anyone participating in Zoom?
We have Drew Rutherford and Mark Nagy from TDOT on Zoom.
Great, thank you. Any amendments to the agenda?
No.
None. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the June 24th, 2026 Executive Board meeting?
So moved.
Any discussion, corrections, clarifications? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now on to a resolution to approve the modification to the FY 2026-2027 work program, which includes transportation planning work program amendment to the City of Oak Ridge corridor study. Doug, you will be presenting that.
Yeah, I'll quickly kick it off. We keep in a reserve of planning funds for special studies that the jurisdictions would like to entertain or apply for. And the City of Oak Ridge approached us about a corridor study that looks at their Tennessee and Central Avenues. There is a one-page scope in your packet and also a aerial picture that shows you the limits of the planning area. And so they were requesting $100,000 total in planning funds. Some of that's local match. And the City of Oak Ridge will manage the study, and a consultant will be engaged. If you go to the next one, it's a little bit hard to see and some of that. But I don't know if City Manager Heeman would like to say just a few words about this.
Sure, I'd be happy to. This is a very important area for us because, as you know, we're not a traditional community. We had 3 shopping centers that were our downtowns in the day. One of them is Jackson Square. The other thing that this connects to is you see the Department of Energy building. They're actually vacating that building. We are doing feasibility right now on moving the municipal building to that building. So this is a very important connection, whether it's the municipal building on the other side or some other use. So this study would take Central Avenue, which is a very wide street that used to continue across before the new federal building was completed, and Tennessee Avenue, and look at how do we create a more pedestrian-friendly environment there. We've got some redevelopment, potential redevelopment in the area marked in red there as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And then I just have this final slide. Like I said, the total project's $100,000. It would take somewhere between 8 to 12 months to accomplish. What we have some complete street funding, and it's 100% money. It doesn't need any match, so we're putting in $50,000 of that. Our regular planning funds requires a 15% match, so it would be $42,500 of our federal planning funds, and then the City of Oak Ridge would provide that $7,500. We still have in our work program around $161,000 in the complete street and $426,000 in regular. So we are all, like I said, we're open. If other jurisdictions have any studies they want to do, please be sure to address us. But the other thing I want to make sure is we first called this an amendment, But we have an agreement with TDOT about how these are classified, and it's technically a modification. After a consultation with TDOT, we decided it's a modification. But we felt in transparency, we still wanted to bring it to the board and everything and get your approval on it. So this will be a modification, not an amendment. Any other questions?
No questions. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Second. Any other discussion? Okay, and we should note too, the technical committee did unanimously recommend approval. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. On to the FY 26-29 Transportation Improvement Plan Approval Update. And Craig, you will be presenting that.
Thank you. I guess the big takeaway is that the new tip has been approved. Normally that happens sometime early in the calendar year or the spring. This one did run on a little bit longer, but it was approved by all of our federal partners effective August 1st. So that is now the operating programming that we see there. As it says there, that supersedes the previous tip, and any new federal obligations must reference the new tip programming, not the prior one. As always, projects must be consistent with or come from directly the long-range plan. Top line takeaway is really close to $1 billion in total transportation investments regionally. Kind of seen tables like this. Here's that number, $968 million. 30 individually listed projects, as well as 7 project groupings. You'll see the breakdown between those local projects, 26 for TDOT projects in the region. The split of those local projects, 23 roadway projects, 3 transit, kind of functionally groupings as well. Bike and pedestrian projects are over on that grouping side individually there, as well as the ITS projects largely in that travel and congestion clean air. Expanding on those groupings, the local groupings, again, bike and pedestrian has 16 individually listed projects within that grouping, 9 travel congestion, clean air, ITS, signal updates, things of that nature, a couple of planning and study items, and then there's a preservation, operations, and safety grouping, which right now functions as a placeholder. Looking at TPO managed revenue, if we look at the 3 types that are suballocated and then administered by this board, STBGL programming revenue about $108 million. Right now, programming is just a bit over $74 million with that unprogrammed balance of $33.6 million. The much smaller and very similar sized TAP program, as well as carbon reductions, both just under $11 million with $8 million of expenditures on the TAP side and $7 million in carbon reduction program funding for relatively smaller balances of $2.6 million on the TAP side and $3.6 in carbon reduction programming. We've had these conversations before as we're looking at programming. There is that program reserve, that minimum that we want to hold back for cost overruns. You see those figures there, $10.8 million from the STBG program and $1.1 million each on carbon reduction and TAP. Particularly with the STBGL, we were relatively conservative on that programming, and we anticipate that we may be able to hold kind of an inter-tip project call this time, pending the context of any cost overruns that do come as we are moving through programming. New with this tip is the online project tracker. This is a new platform in support of the tip that's going to have quite a bit of additional functionality. And I think can we click that link? We can do that. That should pull that up. And this is a statewide platform that we've developed kind of in partnership between all of the MPOs as well as TDOT. And if you click on, there are different ways to kind of explore this. This link is available on our page. Go to the projects tab. You can look up kind of the filters as you see across the top, any of the projects that are that are currently in there. You can pull that up, print off the tip page for that individual project, see the funding and revenue sources. Did you click on one? Yeah, so there's that bike and pedestrian grouping that I had referenced, the funding that you will see there, and then there's a link to that table that has the individually listed projects. I don't know if that's clickable from there, but one up right there is maybe it isn't clickable on there, but when you go onto the website, it should be kind of a click and go from there. So that's just one example. So that will pull up then more information about the projects that are individually listed there. That's the example. If you'd go back then back to the project website and close out of that. And then plan revisions is modifications and amendments that we often see. So you'll see that that's the initial adoption, as well as then we just recently did the first modification within the system for some 5307 funds. You can see that. You can also then look at the projects by county and sort, if you want to see projects in Blount County or Anderson County, you can click on the individual county or the little radio button there and see what's in there. Interactive map essentially certainly functions very similarly with the breakdown of projects in those categories. We're working on making some revisions to those categories to make it, that's kind of the default system categories, and doesn't necessarily align to the way that we would necessarily have all of the descriptions. Visualizations is another tab that can kind of look at the way the funding is programmed. You'll see some pie charts here when this pulls up with the way revenue is. You can sort that by project sponsor, things of that nature. So that is the way that system works. We'll be sending out an email with that information as well as the link to that. One thing that future functionality, the local agencies will be able to have logins and make requests for project changes, kind of a direct communication through that system. Again, that's a coming functionality that isn't operable now, but we're excited to work with this new platform, and it should be have quite a bit better functionality than the previous one. If you can go ahead and close that out and go back to our slides. And next slide. Kind of revising or restating the things that we were just talking about there. And the other thing that you will have had submitted around, I think I got everybody that was here that has projects in the current TIP has a programming summary that you will see. So it kind of has top line takeaways of what is programmed in the region, as well as by your county, the TDOT projects that would be programmed. Just reminders, any pending obligations for the current fiscal year, kind of those things, the immediate to-do lists for your projects, as well as then the individual pages for each of your project there information. And again, we will share these PDFs out so that can be transmitted to your staff as well. And we provided this to the technical committee also when we had that meeting just earlier in the month. That was a lot. I will pause if there are any questions.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Senator Massey, did we recognize you at the beginning of the meeting? So I meant to. I'm sorry. So we're honored to be joined by Senator Massey today. She is chair of the Transportation and Safety Committee. So thank you very much for being here today. Next is the update on the I-40, I-75 corridor, the Pell study. Doug, you going to take that?
Yeah, sure. TDOT came twice and gave us a very thorough presentation about the Pell study. When they were last month, it was right before their series of public meetings. So we got about a 90% preview of what they presented at the public meeting. So I thought it might be good just to give you a quick update. Once again, their study area is kind of this weird-looking triangle, the I-40-75 corridor at the bottom, I-75 kind of to the top, and then the squiggly line kind of covers the area that they were looking at, the bypass alternative. When they talked to us, they mentioned these were the main things they were looking at: adding general purpose lanes, collector distributor network, the choice lane option, the bypass option, looking at technology and ways to incorporate improvements in the operations of the system, a more targeted approach, and then express bus. So then, as I mentioned, they had a series of meetings. Our staff kind of divided and conquered those. And at those meetings, they unveiled that, go to the next slide. They had screened down, and I also included a handout that we got at the public meeting, but they had screened down to the interstate widening option and the choice lane option.
The bypass is not an option.
The bypass is not an option. Next. Then they still have some more work to submit their final Pell study. It'll be submitted in the fall. So we as staff, we've not seen, they've given us a couple of presentations, but we've not seen the report. I guess it'll be publicly available once it's finally submitted. I had a couple of things of issues and concern that we as staff have talked about. Now, not all of these are addressed in the Pell study. Some of these are beyond the Pell study when the final recommendation is. But obviously, a key factor is ultimately whatever they decide upon, what will be the cost? Will it be done in one project or in phases? How long will it take to construct? And then how will it be paid for? At the public meetings, all of the pros and cons, the con was there is no funding available for this project. We'll talk a little bit about the news that came out of Nashville here in just a second. But that's a big impact of how they pay for this. And then if it does get broken into projects, how will they rank in the TDOT 10-year plan? Will they supplement other projects that are ahead of them if there's no new funding, if they have to use existing funding? How does that shake up the whole 10-year plan? They mentioned several times that while some of these alternatives couldn't be a final alternative, there was some merit to them. So parts of these may be incorporated in the final project, whether it's using the technology or targeted approach. So we're curious to see which aspects of those make it through to the final recommendation. I feel like we know it's almost certain that the weigh stations are going to be moved, but we haven't seen a final result on that. So that's a big decision still lingering out there. And then once they select an alternative and they're looking at starting to prepare a construction plan, I'm sure it's going to take quite some time to build the whole corridor. Is there any smaller projects in that corridor that can maybe be done ahead of that? So as people start to deviate during the construction period, we can make those other alternatives smoother. And then while they did not select the I-75 bypass as a choice in this Pell study, does it still remain as an alternative or option or some type of future project, whether that looking at the alignment they were looking at or maybe even some alignment further out? So those are kind of questions we came up with. Since then, as I mentioned, there was a big announcement just the other day in Nashville. So I don't know if Senator Massey would like to comment on that or Matt after her. So.
I'm happy to. Yes, it was. But in answer to your question, Mayor Kincannon, the two options that were selected were the two that would impact and help alleviate some of our traffic issues quicker than the others. And so in my estimation, the bypass is still on. It needs to be a part of a long-term solution. But right now, we've got to focus on the quicker impact, looking at the cost and how can we alleviate our traffic, because we all know our traffic in Knoxville, as I keep preaching over there, is awful. It's awful. We have more cars than Nashville does. Just they have more roads to put them on. But yes, it was real exciting. And I know you all have learned a lot about choice lanes over the years. I remember our first trip with the governor and Commissioner Ely, then deputy governor, to Texas to look at their choice lanes, or express lanes, managed lanes. You can call them all kinds of different lanes. I wanted to call them volunteer lanes here, but, I got outvoted. I said, you could get, if you were frequent drivers in them, you could get a UT koozie. But anyway, so through the process, and I actually was honored to carry it and pass it through the Senate, the legislation that authorized the choice lanes. I said we took the word toll out of state code because it was a 4-letter word, and we don't believe in that one. So But we do believe that it is absolutely a choice, and it did pass within 7 weeks of getting the language of the bill, with 79% of the Senate, 79% of the House, with bipartisan support. So we were real pleased with that. But watching it through the process, it's been interesting. What's happened is nationally, and I've spoken at a couple of national meetings on this too, is that people realize that just expanding lanes ultimately doesn't long-term help alleviate the traffic. The toll roads nobody gets a choice. They all have to drive in them. But the managed lanes actually do help address the traffic situation. You know, basically, if you're in the choice lanes, you're guaranteed usually, typically an average speed of 50 miles per hour. And of course, ambulances go free, law enforcement goes free, buses go free, which helps encourage transit riders because there's more reliability of on-time arrival. And so we put that all together, but the free lanes and the way ours works is if there's 4 free lanes out there and, you know, on part of this corridor, free now, which we call the general purpose lanes, there will always be 4 lanes free. I mean, we will not take any of those lanes for the choice lanes. So when they started these around the country, it was kind of a 70-30 split. The state would put in 70, the investor group would put in 70%, state would put in 30. Then it kind of got to 80-20. Then it got to 100% because they were realizing how great these were. And as far as road building and leveraging dollars and things like that. Then I visited the one up in Northern Virginia, Interstate 66, and they got the road paid for 100% plus $1 billion of concession fee or public benefit money. And at that point, there was no restrictions on that extra money. Then there was one down in Atlanta area that got 100%, and the losing bid was $2 billion extra. It got $4 billion extra. So as we were getting ready to kind of open the thing, and the other thing is, in every case around the country, there were 2 active groups bidding on it. We had 4 that actively bid on the I-24 project, which was unheard of to have that many that goes through the whole process, because each of those groups spend at least $1 million on developing their things. So we knew there was a lot of interest in this 24-ish miles, 26, I forget, 26 miles on 24. So we were hoping, you know, maybe $2 billion extra, whatever. And so we get to the announcement. Of course, we had a call with leadership right before it. The first one said it was going to cost $9.4 billion to build. They wanted us to pay $250,000. Not happening. The next 2, one said there was going to take $12.8 billion to build, and the other one said $8 billion. Their concession fee was basically $7.5 billion, and they were losing bids. Okay. The last one is called Drive TN. It's going to cost $9.2 billion to build. Their concession fee was $24.8 billion. It's kind of blowing up this whole managed lane process around the country. Georgia's getting ready to open, basically announce a bid on one of theirs in 2 months, I believe. And they expect it's going to be a big one too. So the USDOT has asked Tennessee and Georgia to come together and to kind of develop the restrictions around it. I think when the $4 billion came out, they said it has to be used for, you know, in and around that project for the most part. But these large sums, they're looking at how we're technically going to use it. Now, the first parts kind of go around some of the things in setting it up, because we're going to set up in TDOT basically our own vendor to actually handle the money part of it. So it's done in Tennessee, and I believe it's going to be called a Vol Pass, and it will be good in Georgia and Florida and any other states. You can use that as that interoperability. But we want to be able to do that ourselves so we can control and respond to our citizens better if we're operating it. We also, because of the loser bids, they have some parts of their project we may want to use. We have to basically, so we can use that, give them a little bit of money back so we can have proprietary rights on their plan that they gave us. And there may be some other like park and ride places and different things like that. But what they're hoping is that we will be able to use some of that money. Now, it won't all come at once. You get some at the front end, but then it's over the 50-year life of the project. So it's going to come in. It's not like we get day one, we sign the financial contract, we get $24 billion extra. But it will continue to help with transportation needs. It's not our solution. We did a TASER study, a state study recently. It was through my legislation that said that by 2050, we would be $88 billion short if we do nothing in our transportation needs. So this may mean we're $75 billion short by 20, so it really isn't the solution. My concern is that, I've been really pushing to change our formula because we've got to get to an appreciating revenue stream to be able to really meet our needs in all throughout Tennessee. And it doesn't just need to just depend upon the single source like the gas tax. And it needs to be part of the solution. So I'm concerned that legislators seeing that and governors seeing that $24 billion will think, our solutions are 24.8. Our solution is, we're solved. We don't have to deal with this. And I just think it's still irresponsible if we don't. And so I'm going to continue to advocate and push for that. But it just really, really, really is exciting that the interest we have in Tennessee and the growth we have. Now, speaking to the Choice Lane project here, potential, at one point that was put out on the market, and because we got a lot of traffic, but it's not sustained as long as it is on 24. The backups can last 4 hours there, and at least that's what they tell me why they didn't give it to us. But anyway, so when they first put it out on Marketplace, there wasn't quite the interest for the groups to come in and fund it. They've put it back out again, and there's starting to be more interest in Knoxville, in our region. But so the two options would be the investor group to come in, or to be a state-funded Choice Lane project. And that way, then the fees that would come in from it would be paying the state back. The question you asked about other rural projects and things, by bringing in these dollars from these investor groups, that leverages our dollars so we have other dollars to spend on other projects, which we would never get to if we didn't do something like that and we were only dependent upon state revenue to fund all our state projects, because the urban areas would probably get everything. And so this way it basically doubles our dollars at the end of the day. So it's not for everybody. It's a return on investment. People decide if they want to pay to ride in, if they need to get to a meeting, if you're coming to this TPO meeting and you need to be here on time, and you can get it, and you may decide to get in the Choice Lane. If you're not going somewhere and you just have a phone call meeting, that you're meeting with Mayor Jacobs before he leaves office, you can sit in the traffic and talk to him.
You better hurry, because that's a few days away.
On your speakerphone, because it's hands-free. But no, it really is just super exciting. It's been really neat seeing this all come to fruition. Like I say, we've still got a huge number of needs in the state. They say, the project, they'll sign the first final contract here that's in a couple of months, kind of like the financial package thing, and then they sign the final one in the spring because they kind of have to tweak 2 sections of it. But as Commissioner Reed says, it's kind of like when you agree to buy a house, but then you got to figure out who's getting the washer and dryer type thing. So those small details, but it will be a part of it. The Transportation Modernization Board is one of the 4 members is former Mayor Bradshaw from Oak Ridge. So we've got East, and then another one from down near Chattanooga. So we've got 2 of the 4 from East Tennessee, which is nice. But it really is. It's just super exciting, and it's going to be transformative. They will open it in phases, though, as opposed to waiting, because they're going to need to start getting revenue back in. But it should take from the time the final contract, the estimate of total completion is 8 years on that project. Hopefully, in answer to your other question, Doug, hopefully that if we can get it, not just, it'd probably take longer if we were only doing the road expansion, but if we do a choice lane project, we could potentially get it sooner, just because of the interest in that, and having that would be where the money for that would come from. So, but we'll keep working on it, and if anybody has any questions, but it's exciting.
Senator Massey, first, thank you for all your hard work on this, and thanks for the update. You have a way of explaining things that is very clear, and I appreciate that.
That's because I'm not an engineer.
Yeah, no, you said it, not me. But,
well, I try to keep things simple.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that because I'm also not an engineer. And congratulations, this is really good news for the Choice Lane project in Middle Tennessee. It sounds like there's still a lot of unknowns for the solutions here in Knoxville, but we have more information today than we used to. I had one question. I was great to hear that the number of traditional lanes, choice lanes, general purpose lanes will not change. If someone were to choose the choice lane, did they say did the winning bidder say what the price range will be? And I assume it would fluctuate, or what is that price range for the people who choose that lane?
Well, I don't think it's absolutely decided, but it is based on traffic. And obviously the more the traffic in the general purpose lanes, the more expensive it is. But it's not usually something that somebody is just going to get on for 2 exits off the interstate. It's not just totally commuter. We use it when we're driving down to Florida. We use it in Atlanta, but it will. I guess by the time they open it could totally change too. But the funding overall structure is approved by the Transportation Modernization Board, but the company, which is led, like I say, the lead group is Centra and their home office. Now, I mean, these are international partners. None of them are on the banned list of countries we can't do anything with. But they've been doing these kind of projects in Europe for a long time, so they're more experts on it. But it's local. They have all companies all over the country. But Centra's home office is down in Austin. And that's who I met with. They did the Interstate 66 that I met with when I went up there. And so, they're good folks. They know what they're doing, and they know the data. So they've looked at the potential growth of the area and what kind of growth they expect to see, and that's where that concession fee comes from.
So the price is to be determined, but it'll be approved by that board.
Well, the structure, but Centra really will be the one that will set the prices, but it will be data-based and data kind of oriented. So.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Just an order of magnitude, if the Nashville, it's about a 26 mile long project, at 9.2 billion. So our 16-mile project would be somewhere in the $5 to $6 billion. It could be totally different. We don't know about right-of-way and all that. But our whole mobility plan for the next 25 years is about $5.4 billion investment. So that shows you the magnitude of that type of investment in a region or whatever.
Well, if you look at how much this is over the TDOT budget, annual budget, it's huge. I mean, it's just hard to even, I'm sitting there when we did the call to let the leadership know, and all I could say was, wow, just wow. It's just exciting.
Thank you.
I have a question real quick. Senator, what criteria, if any, are used for projects that are presented to be bidded out? You know what I mean? Like you have Nashville here, Chattanooga, I assume. What does that process look like, if you know?
Well, you mean just long-term?
Which ones does the state say, hey, we're interested in a choice lane here? Do they approach the state? How does that work?
Well, I think when we developed the Modernization Act to authorize choice lanes, the choice lanes really only are made for urban areas overall. And because you've got to have the volume to be able to pay for your investment. It's an investment. It's a business deal for these folks. Oh, the one thing I did mention is on average, 70% of all the work that goes into this project is done by Tennessee companies. So it's not taking jobs away from Tennessee, and it's adding to the need for more workers in our road building. But they would look at the amount of traffic. They would look at how much is throughput, how much is local. They would look at how long the backups last. And then it becomes a matter of, inputting the data to see where the return on the investment is. Because, they have all that data, and then they relook at it even continually to see where it is. So it really, we really talked about Nashville, Memphis, Knoxville, and Chattanooga. Well, Memphis, we're actually doing the new bridge there with that money we set aside for the choice lane projects. And so we're looking at just doubling our dollars on all those projects. The other thing about back on the bypass, though, there is a potential that if we ever decide to do a bypass, if it's a brand new road, you have no existing roads, you still have to have at least one free lane with the paid lanes. And so you could potentially do a choice lane bypass. A choice lane project bypass, but it's still, there's still conversations about it. I've only been talking to them about a bypass ever since I've been chair of transportation. So, because it still needs to be, to happen. It won't happen, anytime soon, but it still needs to stay a part of the conversation.
Thank you, Senator. Yes,
I have a
ma'am.
question. With regard to the circumferential route, that was something that TDOT had on the books in the late 90s. And to put it off, one of the things that would concern me is most of the growth in the Knoxville area is happening on the west side of Knoxville. Between Knoxville, Farragut, Lenoir City is filling in. All of the large projects, construction projects with regard to, especially sponsored by Tennessee's mayor, is to encourage, and I'm sure Randy can speak to this better than I can, and encourage the nuclear core of research in the Oak Ridge area. And that area is, the last announcement was 26,000 jobs.
It's a little less than that, but the investment is, 12 billion, not counting the 22 billion for the TVA site. So, we're looking at 36 billion in investment. So you can kind of figure out that, our job counts a little more than 4,000 right now, but it's growing, and that does not count any multiplier.
And for all those jobs, there has to be people to work in those positions, and that is going to be on the west side of Knoxville. And I have long had a concern that Highway 61, which is, or the state highway, which is 95, that goes through bisects this area, that's where all the nuclear improvements are going. And that is the de facto bypass. That's, from my perspective, not good planning. One of the things that Oak Ridge struggles with, if there's snow and people are trying to get off the DOE reserve, it's total gridlock. It's gridlock on a regular day, especially the evening if you're headed south. When you look at the type of growth and the rate of growth that is occurring on the west side, the orange route is almost the original described corridor for the orange route is probably no longer viable because there is so much construction that has occurred in there in the last 25 years that to buy right of way would be impossible to do and obviously very unpopular from a standpoint of the residents who live there. So if this is pushed off yet again, you're going to get yourself at a point where you're going to have the same situation that we now have with the originally proposed orange route. And, those people, that is the area that's growing, and that is the area that you would have to buy right of way in, and that is the area that will be very difficult to do so at a time when it's convenient to do a circumferential route. 840 in Nashville was done at the time that the area between Lebanon and Franklin was largely rural. That has significantly changed, but I think it's very short-sighted if that consideration is not given in this choice of choice lanes, no pun intended, or a circumferential route. I think we could work ourselves into a point where it's just not feasible then either. So I did want to bring up those points that that's where our main growth is, and advanced acquisition, if a corridor was selected, would be prudent at this sooner rather than later.
Right. Well, in my opinion, if we did a bypass, we're putting it on the books now, it would need to be much further out, kind of like the Nashville one, where it wouldn't even, to me, it wouldn't even touch Knox County. I mean, it's got to be outside, like the ultimate one could be from 81 to 75 to 40 to 75. I mean, the half loop type thing. But to your other point, as far as all the nuclear development and things, I'm looking at setting up a meeting with TDOT and some of the folks there that are closely involved with the nuclear industry growth, because the other point that's been being made is that all that heavy equipment and things that they're going to be moving, the roads can't handle. And so I'm not sure that they may, but I'm not sure our folks over at TDOT really have a good appreciation of some of those needs and push and shoves. So, it's like I say, we've got challenges all over the state, and it's something, but we've got to just keep bringing it to their attention, and the noisy wheel sometimes squeaky wheel gets the action sometimes, and I squeak a little bit, but I'm also very persistent in reminding them things. So we'll keep on keeping on.
Thank you. Is there anything else on this particular agenda item? No, okay, thank you. Moving on to the TDOT and Federal Highway Administration updates. I mean, we had a good one there, but anything else?
Sure, I'll go first. Real quick, Our statewide long-range transportation plan, our engagement phase has started. We are halfway through. Actually, there is a Region 1 public meeting at the Unicoi County Fair, which is this Friday. We'll be there from 5 to 10. So if you late bodies that want to come and give comments about transportation, come along. We have one more to go, and that's in Region 4 at the, Obion County Fair. Unicoi is in Region 4. I had it written down. I'm sorry. I was right the first time. Anyway, Region 4 is our last remaining area to have our engagement, and that is at an Apple Festival. So we are really trying, like I had mentioned before, we've been trying to get into the rural parts of the state to try to get a lot of that incorporation into the plan. We rely a lot on the urban areas to give us the urban side of things. So this is our way of diversifying that set of comments. So we're excited about that. Statewide partnership, I think many of you are aware that the application deadline, is this for you, Troy? Are you doing this?
Go ahead.
Very timely, okay. Deadline is Monday. So if you all are, I'm assuming that if you had an interest in an SPP application, that you are working on it diligently. So please get that in by August 31st. I think that is it for me. I appreciate Chair Lady Massey giving a lot of the choice lane update, because we have been sort of sworn to silence because this is an active procurement, so we're not allowed to talk about it. So you got a treat today, because it would have been a lot quieter if she wasn't there. I think that's it for me.
Thank you. Anything from Federal Highway? Okay. All right. Is there any other business to come before this body?
Yeah, we actually have a few things. First of all, we have our September meetings. It's our feeling as staff, we'll probably end up canceling those, but don't take them off your calendar yet. Dallas will send you a notice. We think of the remaining, we need 2 more meetings, so it'll either be October, November, December. We always try to avoid Christmas, but we haven't been able to figure out yet how our workload will flow. And then we had a couple more slides. We wanted to give you a brief update on the reauthorization, and Mike's going to do that.
Yeah, just real quickly, we had talked to you guys about this a few months ago. The current federal transportation funding authorization, known as IIJA, or Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, that actually expires at the end of September. These are normally done on a 5-year, set up on a 5-year basis. So the way they haven't developed yet the replacement for IIJA. So the Senate did pass a continuing resolution that would continue funding for that through December 11th. The House has not acted on that yet. They'll need to vote when they return from the August recess in September. Our understanding of this continuing resolution basically carries forward the core formula funding programs from IIJA, but it does leave out some of the non-formula and competitive things like SS4A, for example. As far as for the reauthorization, the only thing we've heard about so far is from the House side, the Transportation Infrastructure Committee. They passed what was called the Build America 250 Act, but that still needs to go through other committees, the Ways and Means and other things. And also the Senate has not formally put out any proposals. So long story short, that December 11th deadline is going to be tight to get the full reauthorization done by. So it's very likely that we could see, again, further short-term extensions of that act until they can get a full one passed. So that's just a quick update, and our other partners at TDOT may have other updates beyond that, but so.
Okay. Then I had a couple things. With the recent elections, our board's going to see one of the biggest changeovers that we can remember in quite some time. We're going to have new representation from Blount County, a new mayor there, Jared Anderson. Knox County Mayor Betsy Henderson. They haven't appointed a chair, but the Knox County Commission chair or his or her designee. We have a new Sevier County Mayor, Brian McCarter. a new town of Farragut Mayor, Alex Kane, and then the East Tennessee Development District gets to appoint a person, so that's still to be determined. And we as staff will reach out to them and kind of give them a presentation, get them all caught up to date about what the TPO is. And then we also wanted to say goodbye to our departing executive board members. So Knox County Commission Chair Gene Oster is departing. Blount County Mayor Ed Mitchell, Sevier County Mayor Larry Waters, Knox County Trustee Justin Biggs, two of our favorites here, Farragut Mayor Ron Williams, and then also Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs. And we'd like to say a special thank.
Yeah, it's a little pressure.
Yeah. But we wanted to say an extra special thank you to both of you because you attended very regularly, you took leadership roles, you helped us do certification, our new mobility plan, the TIP. You helped me transition. Jeff was here for 30-something years. It's hard to follow a legend, and both you guys really helped me out in the transition. I really appreciate that. Y'all both pushed to get the Pell study here done. And I know that now that y'all are moving on to other things, you'll keep this region and Knox County and town of Farragut transportation issues in the forefront and help those with those even beyond your role here. So we really do appreciate all of your commitment and effort in helping out the TPO.
Mayor Williams, did you want to say anything?
No, I'm good. Thanks. That's good.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been amazing to work with a lot of great people. You have a good organization here, and they do good work for the folks of East Tennessee. So thank you all very much. Why don't we give them a round of applause, everybody at the TPO, please. All right.
Just for a point of order,
Yes.
the way our bylaws read, Mayor Kincannon will take over as chair for the remainder of this year, and then we do elections in January. So we're glad to have her starting next month as the chair.
On to the public comment section of the agenda. Members of the public may address the executive board with a 5-minute time limit for each person. Is there anyone here that would like to take advantage of that opportunity? Okay, seeing none, without objection, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.